If it wasn't for you selling your own show, I would have never met my wife.
That's for sure.
Because you and I had an office together.
Yeah.
And I'm freshly divorced, and you're talking to somebody at this Bobcat dealership.
Yeah.
And you're being all sweet and everything else, and I'm like, "Hey, Jimmy D BigTime, who's that?"
Who was that?
He's like, "Oh, that's my girl Patricia."
That's
and
my
I'm
girl
like,
Patricia.
Okay, well, what's the deal with Patricia? I think she's got a boyfriend, but let's go hit her up anyway.
Exactly right.
So one of my big catchphrases on the radio show is, at the end of the show, I yell, "See ya, cuz," and I yell it really loud.
Yes, you do.
Do you know where that came from?
I know where that came from.
That came from you.
Heck yeah, it did.
Because you used to call everybody cuz.
I know, right? That's
What up, cuz? It used to be "cuz," though. You would never put. I put a Z on it now.
That's
but
cool.
It
You
was,
had to adapt it a little bit.
It was
Andrew, you
cool.
said you came up with that.
He did the cuz. I just did the
Liar, Andrew, you're a liar.
Say, what's up, cuz?
Well, even the "Hey Now," I took it from Howard Stern.
Oh, yeah.
Which nobody likes
He
anymore.
doesn't deserve it.
But I just anyway. Jim Moore in studio. Jimmy D BigTime, as we say. Tony Gump. You've got John Bird.
Hey.
Now you two have actually worked together in the past. Y'all knew each other before I knew either one of y'all, right?
No, he completely ignored me.
Oh.
I think he was on heavy narcotics at the time. I interviewed with him and another guy.
You interviewed with John Bird?
With me?
Yeah.
Was that
Like he was the boss?
Yeah. Him and this other guy who got busted, he did the morning show on another station. And apparently he got rid.
Dave Mack.
I wasn't. Hey,
I was like, to go ahead
I
and
was
say
not
it.
going to use the name.
Yeah.
I actually know this story.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very fascinating
It was
story.
really, yeah. And no, it wasn't your fault, John. I mean, I'm a nobody coming in there interviewing. Do a weekend
this
show.
guy
So
was
I'm
my
just like,
best
do you
friend.
have the money? Can you pay the money? Then pay the money and get the hell out of here. I get it.
Were you the boss at the time?
He was the program director. As I
Wow.
recall.
Yeah, and DM, as we'll say, dumb. He
Direct message.
he eventually became program director, and I became unemployed.
Yeah, that was after you were the program director, and then he became program director, and then John was nowhere. I don't know
pushed
what
me
happened.
out, and then he was gone 6 months later.
So were you there as an employee, and you just came in one day and was like, "Where's John Bird?"
No, they never would hire me.
Oh.
No. This was like, will you take my money and let me have 2 hours on Saturday?
Oh, that's how you started. Now we're talking about 101, which is no longer a thing. I mean, the signal's there, but
Yeah,
it's
I was on a
Superstation's
different
not there.
station. It was another show. It's called Under the Hood, and Under the Hood, in the hood, and it was
Under the hood, in
me.
the
That's
hood.
your new
my-
podcast right there, man.
I did my John Roger, but yeah, so. That show kind of shut down. We were using a lot of co-op money to do it through Jasper Engines, and there was kind of a big split with a bunch of Cinderella stories, and I kind of bailed on that, and then I wanted to take the show elsewhere.
So this was it the Source? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
Who
it was called
came
The
up
Source.
with that? The Source. Gee,
That-
freaking
that was,
wonder.
That was
So
was you know who right over
You got shit canned from The Source?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
I got
created
edged-
it, and
I
then
got edged out.
You got edged out.
Yeah.
there. They had a hell of a lineup, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I
we did.
remember,
We had,
yeah.
we had a heck of a station. We were doing well.
I think during his tenure, I would have to give hats off because I think they had probably the hottest shows in town.
Didn't you have like
Sure. Don't you think?
I think so. I think it was
I mean,
a great
Russ
lineup.
and D in the morning, right?
Matt
And then you had
Murphy?
Murph, and then you.
Didn't you have Dale Jackson, the Attack Machine, at one time?
No, we had
He was there a week, I think.
yeah, that's about right. We had Burt and Kurt for a couple hours.
Mr. Crawford told him to directly not do something, and he like went out of his way.
He called him Crawdaddy.
It's like, yeah, don't do that again. He went out of his way. I'll see you. I'll show you how this works. See ya.
See you, cuz.
See you, cuz.
So
maybe you want to move to Huntsville or something.
Right. So you had Russ and D morning show.
Yeah.
You had Matt Murphy. Burt and Kurt. I remember being a delivery guy and listening to Burt and Kurt all the time. And
Great
let me
show.
say this about Burt and Kurt. Like, I didn't think it was necessarily good radio, but they would have their moments. So you would tune in to see if you could catch those moments. I mean, for me, and I'm like in my early, mid-20s at that time, early 20s.
Yeah.
And I still listened every day.
Well, it didn't hurt they were up against Limbaugh. You know what I mean? It's like there's just so much they're going to be able to do with Burt and Kurt. But what I loved about Burt and Kurt, I learned how not to do a live spot.
Yeah.
It's like,
how did
they do a Piggly Wiggly live spot for like 8 minutes. Or
Really?
something.
Yeah.
You know what they got down there, Burt? What's that? Bananas. I got bananas over there in the produce department.
Was it at least good? Like,
Really, Burt? Yeah, they got cantaloupes too, Burt.
The first 3 minutes was good, but when it kept going,
so after 3 minutes, because I've got a tendency to do long live reads, but I don't go 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I kind of keep it in a 120-second window.
Well, that's a decent window, I think.
Because you want to be convincing, you want to tell personal stories,
Right, and I by no means mean to slam Piggly Wiggly. As a matter of fact, if you would like to sponsor the Jimmy D BigTime show,
Yes, Piggly Wiggly, call us.
please give me a ring.
Well, what are you doing now? Because outside of what happened at 101, where we all worked,
I was in transportation logistics.
Okay.
Yeah, making America great again, doing my form of tort reform.
Then?
My form of tort.
Are you talking about now?
Oh, now I'm worthless. No, before then, when I wasn't worthless back then, I owned my own shop.
Yeah.
I opened it when I was 29.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, gung-ho, gonna change the world, gonna make $1 million, you know.
Did you ever do that? Make $1 million?
Oh, gosh. I've
get
gone
close?
through that much.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, technically, you had to make it to spend it.
Well,
so,
you know. I mean,
yeah. All right. So
it's hard to get a business over $1 million a year in revenue. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's
Tony Gump knows.
Yeah, I get it.
that's a beast. I
Yeah.
mean, and you can get there. You know,
You just gotta have the right business model.
it takes a lot out of you.
Takes a lot of this.
And I think that's where I really got the opportunity in that. You know, I was not a radio goob, so I didn't go to school and get a broadcasting degree. I went to school and got an education degree thinking I was going to coach football and change the world. Right?
Yeah.
And then No Child Left Behind come in and just shot that to crap.
You didn't want to coach a bunch of dummies.
You know, a bunch of mama's boys. You can't even coach them anymore. And everybody gets a trophy. And they got the special needs kids in here with everybody else. I got 30 kids to teach civics to. And 3 of them can't read, and they're in the 9th grade. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that?
All right.
How can I? Anyway.
So you went into radio.
So I went into automotive stuff, and then I had this brilliant plan that I could join this organization and get on the radio and talk about fixing cars and stuff. And fix them on the radio. It's a lot easier. It's not as hot.
Right.
My hands
Free.
aren't bleeding.
It's free.
It's kind of cool.
And this is kind of before, we were just accustomed to going on YouTube and finding the fix, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, this predates that for sure. So I opened my own shop, basically. It was a hobby. I'd always been able to fix stuff, but it was a hobby. Nothing I made a profession out of. I was going to coach and teach and that sort of thing. But I'd always been plugged in with radio people. And I don't know why. I went to college at UAB. We had an organization called Radio Free UAB. I don't know if you remember that organization, do you? We brought a lot of great acts to the town, played at Sloss and all that.
Nice.
But the other thing was that, do you remember Rusty Gray?
Name doesn't ring a bell, but that doesn't mean I didn't.
It was like 94.5 at the time was
Sounds like a fake name.
And like the old boy over there at Crawford, the dude had been there forever.
Who?
That produced the Burt and Kurt show.
Who is that?
You know what I'm talking about. Tall, skinny. He knew everybody because he was at Kicks 106 back in the day.
Kicks 106.
You know what I'm talking about? Kicks 106, breaking down the jam.
I don't know who that was.
Charlie.
Oh, Charlie! God, I forgot all about him.
Charlie, man, Charlie knows everybody.
Charlie,
he has worked.
Man, I love Charlie.
Dude, he has worked with them all.
That's
I'm
crazy.
Serious. Like a lot of people that
forgot.
really busted out of this market. Back then, there was that. What was that morning show that busted out? They went,
Mark and Bryan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're at API or at W94.5 for a little while.
Yeah, actually, I was working there when they came back to 103.7.
That's right.
They brought them back when Rick and Bubba
That's right.
left.
Yep.
And
Rick and Bubba still killed them.
Yeah, and it was so funny because they were, we were doing satellite, and I did all the imaging and everything for it, and they wanted me to run the show for the first month and train somebody. Well, they didn't last a month. It was the filthiest, even today by today's standards.
Mark and Bryan was filthy.
Yeah,
I never listened.
Like they
to
had
them.
a guy
They went
describing
to California though, bro.
Yeah, they were in Los
You got to
Angeles.
understand, they
was
left here
hardcore.
and went to Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah.
And when they came back, they forgot who their audience was. I think that's fair, isn't it?
At least forgot who
I
their
think that's-
Birmingham audience was.
I think they
I
just-
mean, it was syndication. They were still in Los Angeles, so they're not going to change for Birmingham.
But this market had, they had Rick and Bubba. Let's just
See,
say.
I never listened to Mark and Bryan. I did listen to the Source days, and then obviously 101, and then 99.5's created. But right after 99.5's created, I come over to 101, and that's where I meet you. It was well before I met John Bird, but we had a good time
We had a
at
great
the
time.
Superstation.
Yeah, we did.
Because that thing was built to be a monster, but once key players dipped, then it left management kind of like, what do we do? They're scrambling. They didn't know what to do at that point, and that's probably how I got the job. Is nobody knew what they were doing. Thank God.
Leland hired me, so that's when I actually came in. Is when
Really.
I actually came in.
You were doing weekends.
I was doing the weekends, and then they called me for open tryouts for the morning show because David, some news guy, Dave
Sears?
No. David
not
Sears
David
wasn't ever there.
No, he was a news dude. He's back on the news.
David the News Dude.
And Russell P. and
Yeah.
Steve were doing this morning show called The Guys.
Mm-hmm.
And
But they were replacing somebody on the guys
I
at that
like
time?
them all. No, there was just something wrong with it. It wasn't really listenable at the time.
Yeah.
And I think the Dave guy only lasted like a couple of weeks. He quit. It's like it was killing him.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what happened. They just gave me a tryout and like.
I think Russell P. was giving him the business, and he just
I
ran
was
him up.
coming up there, and luckily there were so many great hot topics that somebody like me that's been self-employed for 10 years maybe have a little bit different point of view.
Right.
And here we are talking about transgenders entering the bathrooms, for instance.
Oh, it's
right?
perfect. Perfect timing for Jim Moore.
Soft serve.
Let's talk about the trannies, baby.
Soft serve, baby. Yeah, I got my thoughts on the trannies. I hate it for them, but they're not going into the bathroom with my granddaughter. Right?
Right.
That's the end of it. It doesn't really matter whose rights or whatever, what laws ever you want to pass. It doesn't matter. It's not going to happen. So, I would bring that kind of thing against Russell P., for instance, because he was kind of moderate and kind of wishy-washy down the middle
He
of
was
the road.
left center.
He was rather left to center,
Yeah.
right? And that's what made Russ and D so good. When they were original Russ and D.
Were they opposites? 'Cause
They
I didn't
were
really
when they
listen to that.
started, okay? And they switched because she decided she was going to be a conservative kind of person.
Yeah, I
too.
mean, I love them,
But you remember the old days when she was a liberal, like radical liberal, and he was a radical conservative. They'd go
Really?
at each other.
And that was real?
That was,
Or they were putting it on for the show?
I don't know, and I don't know.
she was convincing.
She was,
Yeah,
but then she eventually turned. And there's a lot of conspiracy about that. I'm sure John knows all about it. But
oh yeah,
Let's hear it.
I was in the middle of it.
you basically, okay, this is just nobody's listening.
Now,
Yeah,
Russ and D, and
just-
for our audience that's not here in Alabama or hasn't been listening to the radio for a long time, Russ and D is an old Birmingham staple morning show that a lot of people listen to.
Conservative
They
talk
got
show. They were
conservative
awesome.
talk show. They had a lot of ratings, a lot of
He
success.
was a doctor at UAB.
Head trauma.
He was in the trauma unit at the UAB,
And she started Mothers Against Drunk Driving
Right.
in Alabama.
She started
Wow.
MAD here, so she was well known, plugged in politically. Either way, they would go at each other about any number of things. But one of the things that they brought to light that I found fascinating at the time was that that they basically exposed the Masons and basically the beginnings.
Oh my God.
Okay, and so they started talking about this book by the name of the author was Ralph Epperson. Ralph Epperson wrote a book called The New World Order.
Can we look that up?
Yeah.
It's an old book, and I've read it a couple of times, and it's solid. I mean, it's
And this book is about just
it's
NWO
basically
in general?
about it's basically about a global cabal that consists of a lot of heavy players. that
Epperson?
consist
Sound
of
familiar?
Epperson.
Ralph Epperson. yeah.
Epperson, NWO, something. Who's what we got
They
here?
were ahead of their time.
I think that's the name. Yeah, that's
There it
it.
is.
That's
They're
it.
right there on
It's
Amazon.
available on the Amazons. Yeah,
What's
That's it.
what's the review say?
that's it.
Ralph Epperson has spent years researching the history of the two sides of the Great Seal and has discovered that those who designed them, zoom that in, I'm struggling to see
My
that.
bad.
Those who designed them committed America to what has been called a secret destiny. The future destiny is so unpleasant that those who wanted the change it entails had to conceal that truth in symbols. Fascinating. And you've read that twice.
No, at least probably more than that.
So
Although I've
this
got
is-
some fascinating reads.
I'm surprised I haven't read that one. Honestly, I've read a ton of them. I haven't read that one.
Well, so Russ and D.
That's an
were-
old one. You know,
they were talking about that book. Is that you're saying?
that was kind of their entrance to the fundamentals of certain organizations such as Freemasons.
So did they catch heat with the Masons? Like what happened?
They
there?
called heat immediately, and they were told not to talk about that.
by
And they were told not to talk about illegals.
by the top of Crawford. Wow.
And what their demise was them going after Bob Riley.
Yep.
And he got him
Governor
fired.
Riley.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, because the upper management was in with Riley, former Alabama governor, and he was governor at the time.
Yeah.
And they got fired for criticizing a public official.
Well, you don't understand. They don't criticize. They're like pit bulls.
Yeah, they're
They'll get a bite in, and they're not going to let go.
Fair enough.
they were
Yeah.
just told to leave it alone. Just like I was told not to bring Josh Coy on. You know,
Oh,
over and over.
Josh Coy. Do
Over
you
and over
know
again.
Josh Coy? God, Tony Gump would have loved Josh Coy.
There's no doubt. It sounds like it'd be right down Tony's alley.
So Joshua Coy was this. Try Joshua Coy 101. So Joshua Coy was this younger guy. He's probably in his 20s. I don't know if you're going to try radio. What did he call it? Shadow radio.
Shadow Radio.
Shadow radio.
Yeah.
He was a young guy, had a lot of health issues, but he had somehow gotten the money to buy an hour like every night, Monday through Friday at like 9 or 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And he
You know,
would
what
come
did with
on,
that.
and he was the local Alex Jones, and he would be on time.
For sure.
He didn't have a good voice. He wasn't necessarily the best communicator, but he would get on there.
He was Dale Jackson.
And he was essentially Del Jackson with
Is this guy
conspiracy
Thanks,
theories.
Dale.
Is this guy deceased right now?
Except
Yeah,
Spark.
he's dead.
he died.
Oh, okay,
That's
then this
probably
is
him
him.
right
Yeah.
He died last year.
This is from AL.com.
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, they didn't give us a picture.
old.
No, he
Yeah,
wasn't.
Zero Radio was
I
something
just
called home. Blah, blah.
You know, I loved the guy, and I loved talking with him. You know, during the breaks and stuff. He was a guy's fan, so he'd come up there and we'd talk. And Saturday his show was just fascinating. It came on late in the afternoon.
Yeah, he
but
kind of looked like Kurt Cobain a little bit, like sickly Kurt Cobain,
like the sick version.
Yeah.
But he was on top of so many things back then that now everybody's coming around and going, you know what?
He'd look like a freaking genius if he was still
know
around.
what?
His show would be called "I Told
and
You
one
So."
of the ones that Laura called me on, you remember Miss Laura, was the Pizzagate stuff. Now I couldn't help myself. Okay, I got.
I was there with
I
you.
was like, you know, we got this anonymous dump. Okay, and so I'm looking at emails from Podesta.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're talking about some of the crazy. It doesn't make sense.
Nothing makes sense.
Okay, and so when somebody says something off the rails, like, you know, this could be like, pepperoni, extra cheese,
500 pepperoni pizzas.
I need
flown to Chicago.
and the way they were saying it just didn't make any sense. Hey, that pizza.
Can I have a pepperoni pizza for 30 minutes?
Yes. Could I just get that pizza for like?
Don't forget all the hot dogs too.
Yeah, the hot dogs.
Yeah.
What are you talking?
And nobody ever offered us an explanation.
No,
for that.
all I
None.
was told is like lay off.
Yeah.
And quit getting coy on there. Well, we get coy on there, and we'd dive deep into the Bilderbergers. We'd dive deep into the foundations of the Freemasonry, the Illuminati.
Right.
And then we'd dive deep into what true evil looks like and where it's coming from. And nobody wants to hear that.
See, I got to say, that's why I avoid going on Andrew's show at all, because I'm afraid I'll get him canceled. I'll bring that up right away, just not even thinking.
Right.
He's
We can't get you canceled, so I'll dial it back.
What's funny?
Dial it back.
Dude, no, you don't.
Let's
have to
talk about
dial
that Mustang, man.
That's pure evil.
That is.
Speaking of evil possession.
When those emails came out, I specifically
What a
remember,
dump.
and we should dedicate this episode to Jeff Myers, who just left us recently. I will never forget sitting in the office with Jeff Myers for hours on end, looking through those weekly emails. He was on top of it, dude.
He was, man.
And he wasn't necessarily a hyper political
No,
guy.
he wasn't.
But
he was kind of anti-Trump when we started the guy.
He was,
kinda
yeah.
anti-Trump.
And then he started coming around after those emails. He was finally like, okay, I see what's going on.
Most of his
here.
friends were Bernie Sanders people,
Yeah.
so he was kind of skating the line along that pure Bernie Sanders kind
But
of.
that kind of guy, Jeff, right there. When you have somebody that was on the left and that comes around, I think they have almost a knowledge and an awareness that we that have kind of always been on the right don't have.
Yeah.
'Cause, they've seen it from both sides.
I guess so.
More aware.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the guys for a second. I'm not trying to make this a big Jim Moore's career thing, but I want to say the guys, this is when you started, the morning show you were trying out for, you started on there. That was...
Leland hired me that day. You don't understand. It was like the biggest day of my life.
Was it?
Yeah. It's like Leland called me in the room right after it was over. You know that little production room right across from the studio? Mm-hmm. It's like Leland's like, hey, man, come in here, man. I'm like... yeah, he's like, that was out insane. He said, you're by far the best thing that show's ever had. He said, what do you think about maybe doing it every day? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can do it every day.
See, obviously we didn't know what the ratings were because Crawford didn't subscribe to the ratings, but that, in my opinion, was the most underrated morning show I'd ever listened to in my life.
I don't have a clue what the ratings were.
It was good. It was really
our
good.
management team didn't believe in them.
Yeah, they didn't believe in ratings.
It's like they were so dumb.
Well, they wanted control. They wanted control.
That's the thing is that that's
what
why,
was the theory?
That's why
behind
now
that?
Jimmy D's gone full podcast, right? Because I'm a control freak already, and there's nobody going to tell me what I'm going to talk about or what I'm not going to talk about, and at that place they even, which I'm sure you got directed to, but I'm just saying, even when it came to interviewing senatorial candidates, right? They were all about Roy Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God!
I wasn't all about Roy Moore.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was the right man for the job at the time. I don't hate Roy Moore. I think the crap that was brought up against him was a bunch of nonsense. It's like that Me Too movement. The west side of the We Too movement, which seems to be the worst side or something.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any red-blooded American in this world that played ball and had testosterone when they were young, like we did. That couldn't be accused now. 30 years ago, some girl told me no, and I went ahead. I'm sure there's one out there. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
And that was the game. It's like now all of a sudden they want to change the rules of the game. Well, the game's always been you say no, you say no, you say no, I pursue, I pursue, I pursue. That's the whole thing, man. You take that away. Well, right now, if I was dating, sign here, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Electronic signature before I do a thing. You sign right there.
it's good that we're not young and dating right now, because that would be rough.
See, I would like to come forward finally
Okay.
because that happened to me a lot. Unfortunately, I was the one saying no.
No.
So that did happen more than once.
I apologize for that back then, John.
Well, no, you weren't. I didn't say no to you.
Well, of course not.
No. I didn't know you back then. So no, I'm not talking about that.
It was, when it comes to Roy Moore, like none of us wanted him to be the candidate, but once he was, and then they started bringing up all these accusations, we're like, Roy Moore or a Democrat?
Oh,
like,
it was
we had to
Doug
stick up for Roy
freaking
Moore.
Jones is what I was afraid of. I was like, Doug Jones, you guys nominate this guy, you're going to end up with Doug freaking Jones.
I think they stole that
And what
election.
did they do?
They ended up with Doug Jones.
Yeah, they did.
And I think they soft-served us Roy Moore. I think there's a lot of underground currents going on right now. I think it's a great time to be alive. I think that we're going to see some miraculous things going on, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's time to gird our loins because when we win,
What does that
That's
mean?
a small battle. That's a battle won.
you put it on your armor.
That's right.
You gird your loins.
your
You don't
loins?
want to get you
Gird
don't want to
ya.
get stabbed in the wee willy winker. So
Right.
you gird your loins.
Dude, if I'm
gird
walking
your loins.
around in public and I see somebody gurging their loins, I'm going to be like, I'm calling the police.
No, they're girding.
Good
You're
idea.
wearing
Girding.
a plate to protect
Girding,
you.
jerding, jerking, I don't care.
No,
Like,
girding.
Don't do that in public.
He's a youngster. He doesn't remember.
I know what you mean, though, John.
I found out today that
Strap it up.
a fortnight is 2 weeks. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was just a video game, but apparently it's a saying that refers to 14 days. Mm-hmm. A fortnight.
A fortnight.
So put that in
2
your
weeks.
vocabulary. It is exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we're at. And, I don't think that there's ever been a more politically charged environment. I got the chance to be in radio, which I'd always wanted to be, right? Mm-hmm. Even my weekend show, I took it so seriously. Like and they used to make fun of me too, because it's like I was anal retentive about certain things. Like when somebody was producing my show, if they had a fast fade, that really got on my nerves. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you mean coming back from a break?
Fast fades drive me nuts.
That's my boy right
know
there.
what I'm
Come
talking
on.
about.
I know what you're talking
And
about.
Steve West was the worst. I'm like, Steve, God, couldn't stand it when he'd produce my show. Steve,
Yeah,
I loved my man.
Fast fades are bad. You need
like-
that bad boy to hang out, especially if you're coming back doing a live read. You want that thing playing in the
And
background.
see, that's the thing is like I spent time and energy on this. Those bumpers aren't there by mistake, right? That Burn Rubber on Me track is coming back with the Volkswagen sound. I'm fixing to talk about doodle bugs. Like there's rhyme to reason here, and I put all that together for a reason.
He's got a very strict diet of what he plays. I give him a playlist, and he never diverts from it. Almost never.
But he has like 500 songs.
Well, he's a great
so.
producer, though.
He now when it was Jessica and myself on the line on 101, I didn't get to pick the music. Maybe if there was one song that she thought was so absolutely ridiculous she wanted to ream me for, she would play that and then make fun of me.
I had to get all covert with my bro
But-
Jeff. I love Jeff to death, but he was such an anal little shit. It's like, and he would never let me pick some music.
Really?
Right?
There was something
He
about
just
those 101
wouldn't.
producers.
He just wouldn't.
I'm like, you're the host. You should be able to pick a song.
Hey, find this song. It's
Well, we can't
called-
play because it'll copyright us.
Oh, I own the copyright. This one.
Oh, is this yours?
No.
Sing it for
we
us.
can watch the video while you sing it.
Anyway,
say
I was,
the name
I
of
was
it.
just going to say that the only time that he just went ahead and gave in and let me do the bumper was the morning after Trump won.
Yeah.
I played this song called Born Ready. And
By who? Somebody that was born ready.
It's a group, and it's a Rastafarian group. Okay, so it's a. I happen to love reggae. It's
Zayd Wolf.
It's my fun. That's probably it's a group out of Trinidad, and I have it on a Trinidadian. But anyway,
I've got a genre called.
it's a great freaking song, and it was just a celebratory song about being born ready. And that this dude's born ready, and he's still born ready.
Yeah, yes.
And if you remember, it's like 2016, and the guys, we had previous to guys. You wouldn't have had a Trump without an Obama. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
I mean, you got this Obama character that just destroyed so many aspects of our economy and our country, and there was so much to talk about with that. And here comes this guy down the escalator, and I knew then it's like. And honestly, I heard a show that you did not too long ago, and you were talking about when he went to Pennsylvania and that opera singer that sang that song.
Yeah.
At the end, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, there was like a light or something went off in you. It's like, oh, wait a minute. God's in this?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. So the bullet missed him by some sort of miraculous thing?
Yep. That's where I'm at on
What?
it. Mm-hmm. That's exactly where I'm at on it.
Okay, that's where I was in 2015.
Yeah.
The exact same spot. Because I just had that same feeling you guys, like, dude, this is over. I mean, I don't even watch the news. I don't care. Trump's winning. Y'all can talk all the crap you want. You can put any numbers on the board you want to. Oh, he's only down by 14 points. No, it don't matter. He's going to win. It's going to happen. It's already done. God's just already got all that done. Okay?
Yeah.
He wouldn't have saved him from the headshot if it wouldn't have been so.
That's exactly
And the same thing, and then when he goes back to that same location and he lifts up the name of God at the very end of his, do you think that was not by design by Trump himself?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I think it changed. I think it fundamentally changed him inside.
I think it fundamentally changed him, and I think that he's changed for the better, and he knows that it's a bigger thing than he is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the God that I believe in uses mules and donkeys and everything else. And
not Democrat donkeys, so.
he could use them
He
if they
could,
want to
yeah.
be, but they're busy being used by other entities.
They're a little
at this
resistant.
point.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of that other entity first,
But,
eh?
yeah, that's kind of where I was at too. I mean, once you had the assassination attempt, it's kind of like,
Gosh.
I mean, what are the chances that it just nicks his ear? Like that's intervention.
And these other couple of times. I mean,
Yeah.
once again, it happened a certain way.
that was the first
like
thing.
on
Oh,
golf
and we're
course.
supposed to believe all this, right? Like we're supposed to believe that president that currently hangs out up there, that he got twice as many votes as Obama,
Right.
right? That's what we're supposed to swallow that one, and now we're supposed to say this 20-year-old know nothing is able to get on the only building that provided any kind of shot.
Yeah.
He's able to get up there, and the cops are running around and can't figure out how to get up there.
Yeah, it was
Right?
so set up.
What are you talking? So they're waiting on a ladder. Oh, hey, man, the call fire department. He got a ladder. He can get down here because there's a shooter up here on there and the president's out there. It's like, no,
Yeah.
there's no way that went down that way. I mean, it's like watching a South Park episode or something.
He's your South Park guy right here.
Oh, I know every episode.
He
yeah,
can recite every episode.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm kind of that way too. I've heard several different things that give me confidence that Trump's got this in the bag. That was one of them with the assassination attempts and the days after, and really thinking about it. And I'm like, man, God saved his life. Like literally, it's what I'm seeing with this guy. Like there's intervention going on. Then there's things about the people with the money are putting their money on Trump, and they don't just put their money on stuff willy-nilly without knowing. But then I saw this, and Tony, if you'll pull up your email real quick, Mark Halpern, you remember Mark Halpern?
Yeah.
What, didn't he get in trouble for like pulling his wiener out at work or something? What was it?
Yeah, he's one of the two.
He whipped out his Halpern in front of everybody. He didn't do it on Zoom like Tubin did, but you know, he did something like
something
sexual.
Yeah.
So he comes out and he's a little more centered than he used to be. Let me see if I can make sure this goes to you, Tony Gump. And he's been talking a lot of common sense lately. I see him this morning saying that with the trend of the early votes, because Republicans are voting early in a way that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
He's like, this bad boy may be called. We may know who the freaking winner is before Election Day. And I understand your confidence, and you're not worried about it. A lot of people out there are. Listen to what he said on the show.
Good morning, everybody. Let's lead with the lead, as they say in journalism. If the early vote numbers stay the way they are, and that's a big if, we'll almost certainly know before Election Day who's going to win the election. We're going to talk a lot about that. The reasons why Democrats might be underperforming, the prospect that they'll recover. But again, make no mistake, if these numbers hold up in the states where we can understand even partially what the data is like, we'll know that Donald Trump's going to be president on Election Day.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that, but I didn't want to bury that because it's extraordinarily important.
There you go.
And
come from
we gotta
Mark
track that
Halpern
day-to-day.
himself.
That's more important than the polls right now.
What do you think?
Wow.
Yeah, not surprising. I mean, you know, can anybody tell me what the Democratic platform really is? I mean, what are they standing for? Okay, I get it. They want to kill babies or whatever.
They're really
Okay,
for
so-
globalism at this point. It's
I know, but
American
it's
versus
like,
globalist.
I get that, but the people, is that what they're running on? I mean, that's what they're showing, but they don't really have a clear,
No, they hadn't put anything
concise
out there.
plan that they have to recover things.
It's really my body, my choice about the whole abortion stuff. But where were they when all this shots were going around? You know.
Well, I understand that, but here's the other thing: is like, what's the deal with the misinformation? They want to call it out all the time where they're saying Trump's going to ban abortion. Trump's going to ban nationwide abortion.
He's going to cancel Social Security.
What are they talking? It's like nobody reads the Constitution. The only thing about Roe Wade was it was not constitutional in the first place.
Right.
And
the only
thing that it got thrown out, that's great. But it does, states can do what they want to do.
Right.
It doesn't ban anything.
Because it's in
says,
the
look,
states.
this decision does not rely, this is not the federal government's job to decide what people in Arizona do with their health. We'll let the people in Arizona decide health in Arizona.
Right, because abortion has been a political issue, a political football for decades. And what that Supreme Court ruling did is that took it out of the political arena and now says, y'all argue over something else, Republicans and Democrats, because this issue's done.
Right.
It's up to the states, the people. You got more of a chance to
have
get
your legislature put it on the
right.
Put it on the ballot, and y'all vote it.
Your vote counts more in your state elections and in your state laws than it does in a federal level. So you got a better chance of getting abortion in the state.
It restored democracy to those states.
Democracy.
It didn't do the opposite.
Yeah. Well, I think something that's interesting that that nobody talks about is Roe ended up, after this got passed, she had a change of heart.
Oh, yeah.
And actually
she was a big
fought
advocate
against that,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. She was a pro-lifer.
But you won't hear that in mainstream media.
We should change the name of abortion to just a Margaret Sanger. Go get a Margaret Sanger.
I mean, just read some Margaret. I mean, really. You don't have to be smart. Read the writings of that lady and know what she did.
What about
Planned Parenthood.
one of the big downfalls for the Democrats in this election? I mean, they're just up against a monster when it comes to Trump. He's so good at campaigning. He's so good at just everything he does. And they have subverted democracy by booting Joe out and putting Kamala in, which nobody liked, and now they got to pretend to like her. Could they have made a worse decision than to pick Tim Walz to be the running mate? They could have got Josh Shapiro, but he was a Jew. So they couldn't do that because they didn't want to. They didn't want to piss off the Hamas wing of the Democrat Party. So they went with Tim Walz, who is an absolute.
He's very consistent. Now, I have to give it to Tim. I mean, I do respect Tim because you know exactly where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Now, see, I got something
His
to add
colors have not changed. I mean,
I got something to add about that. As soon as they came out and said that J.D. Vance was weird before the Tim Walz thing, I knew I knew who they were going to pick was going to be totally weird, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's weird. Not just like regular, normal Democrat weird. He's
they accuse the Republicans of what they bring to the table. They say, oh, you're doing this, and the next thing you know, here comes this weird creep guy.
Yeah, go to Tim Walz's home, go to his bedroom, open up his closet door, and an avalanche of skeletons are going to fall out on top of you.
I would hate to even guess. You know what I mean?
It's bad.
So
I'm going to be honest.
He's got that creeper feel, too.
I've said that on the show. I said, this dude gives me.
Around the locker room for real.
This dude gives me pedo vibes.
Oh, yeah.
All day.
Hey. Played at Penn State, bro.
Yeah. Vice President Jerry Sandusky.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be calling him.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Just weird.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. And I think they're just pandering to that wing of the party, thinking that that's where it's at with the youth.
Yeah.
And I think they've overplayed the youth's hand in that, yes, they have won the war in the education system. I will go ahead and admit defeat. They have won. The public education system as we see it today is a complete failure.
Right.
It needs to be absolutely defunded. Every parent needs to receive X amount of dollars that the state's spending, and let schools be built and compete against one another. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much more proof we need. We did irreparable damage during the COVID situation. You know, that was when I came out of my no-compete. That was like back to my wonderful career.
How long were you?
I got fired in 2017, and my no-compete run out in 2020, and COVID hit.
Go back to 2017. When did you? Because for people that don't know, it was Andrew and Jessica. And then one day they just came up with this idea where they're like, we're going to send Jessica to the morning show and we're going to send Jim to the afternoon.
Yeah.
And we were together like 3 months, but we had a blast.
Yeah, I had
it was
a good
fun.
time. Yeah.
And then they swapped it back. Was that when you left Crawford when they took you off my show? Or like,
Yeah, they
how
took
did
me
that
off
play
all
out?
shows. They're like, hey, I'm sorry, we're going to bring Jessica in the mornings. You're out.
What was the reason for that?
Okay.
Do you remember?
No.
There's never a reason.
I remember
for that
there was a
company.
rift and like there was some disagreement. So I can't remember if it was you were like screw y'all and they're like screw you and then y'all just parted ways or what. But then you were in a non-compete for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
What? That's crazy. Why 3 years?
Well, he obviously signed something that had 3 years in the contract.
The thing is, at that place, I mean, everything was anti-employee on steroids.
Sure.
I mean, it really was. It was like everything.
And
they could do
I
to-
was stupid and young and signing that. I should have never signed a 3-year like that.
I did too.
And they can't get it done in the state. Like, if I had 10, 15 grand to fight it, they'd never get it done. I mean, I could have went to work right away and let them sue me.
They just assume that you're not going to fight that fight.
Well, yeah, it's going to cost you $10,000-$15,000. I mean, I talked to my lawyer. He's like, yeah, you can beat it. There's no doubt you can beat it. It's just how big of an a-hole are they, and how much will they push it on out? The further they push it out, the more it costs you.
See, I don't know how I got so lucky, but when they wiped the station, when they changed the
They
format,
don't care when they change formats. It's over.
Yeah.
the non-compete
It's
was
just
irrelevant.
if they're staying talk radio, then they're going to enforce it. Because I was going to go right over there where you're at, and I was
Yeah.
going to do that in 2017, but
It took me till 2021
that
to get
didn't
over
work
there.
out. You know.
Well, I got to give kudos to 99.5 because we sponsor there, and to this day, they have not one time told him he can't say anything on the air. They
true.
give him
Yeah.
total freedom.
That is
Yeah.
good.
So it's surprising as well with some of the things we talk about.
Yeah.
Well, they got Leland, so
Yeah.
I mean, and
Well,
they got Richard Dixon.
You know
so,
what's funny is
mean,
I actually got. I've only gotten. Well, this doesn't count as getting in trouble. I've never gotten in trouble, but I did get called into a corporate HR deal one time because some old lady called in and she called corporate. She just skipped over the local deal, called corporate, and said something about I was making light of pedophilia or something weird that I know I didn't do. And so I had to do this HR thing, and they were like, "Oh, well, we've gone back and listened, and we can't really find anything. Do you recall ever talking about testicles or they went through a couple things."
I'll talk about testicles all the time.
I'm like, yeah,
What are you
probably.
talking about?
And so anyway, we go through the whole thing, and they're like, "Okay, well, we're just going to close this file and whatever." So that was the only time I had ever had to deal with corporate like that. But I told Val before that, I was like, I don't see anything too crazy. I said I kind of look at Richard Dixon and Leland and say, hey, if they say it, that's where the line is. She goes, don't do that. Don't use Richard Dixon as the gauge. I was like, okay.
Yeah, don't do that.
So I don't know, man. So
I talked to Val not too long ago. She wanted me to come up and look at their new studio they built.
You should. Oh yeah, we got a podcast studio
Yeah.
up there.
She's trying to pimp it for me. I'm like, I got one at home. She's like, well, not like this.
Hello?
Does that say Mike Lindell?
That's Mike Lindell.
Is that really him?
He's
Answer
my
the phone.
buddy. You know that?
Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy.
Yeah.
Show that to the camera.
Dude.
That just,
Are you serious?
It's Mike calling. I have to call him back.
No, we bought him on the podcast.
Do you want him on here?
Yeah.
Man,
Answer
he's
it.
a very
He's got
busy-
great pillows too.
He's
you
got
know?
great pillows.
Yeah.
He's really doing a lot for the election integrity throughout this country.
You got to
So-
be kidding. Is
He's
that
a
really?
highly targeted individual.
Is it really him or no?
That's him.
No shit. Oh my good lord.
Mike Lindell.
Check their area code. Don't give the number.
That's
Isn't he up in like Wisconsin or something?
he's in
Minnesota.
Minnesota. So what is it? You know Mike Lindell personally?
Well, I'm just saying.
You're
I know a
blowing-
bunch of people personally,
You're
man.
blow-
I
you're
know
blowing
John
smoke.
Bird. Oh, God. I mean, I know John Bird.
Yeah, me and Mike Lindell, we're right up there.
You got to be.
I knew
blowing
Burt
smoke.
and Kurt.
Is that a
Russ
spam?
and D.
Is that an election spam call? Is that what that was?
Probably.
Okay, that makes because I.
No, I love Mike, and I've been watching him a lot on a.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, he's.
You
great.
butthead, man. You have
I'm sorry, I had you
hook, line,
going.
and sinker.
I know, I had John.
Yeah, got me too.
I bought a
love John.
I bought a MAGA hat off the Win Red website and donated like $5 to the Trump campaign. Really, $5. I shouldn't have done that because I'm now bombarded with text messages every single day. Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, Senator Kennedy, texted me today, and he said, "I'm desperate. I need your help." And it's like, yo, stop.
Yeah, please.
I don't. I'm doing my part over here.
That's right.
To help y'all out.
Everybody needs to do their own, right?
I
get it, man.
Crazy.
No, but I do think there's great Americans like him that's really helped the world.
Now he's been through a lot. Think about
my God,
sticking up.
They canceled him everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
they threw him out of Walmart. They threw him out of Target. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay.
They tried to kill him at one point.
Sales went up.
Remember when he did the symposium, the election fraud electronic symposium? You remember it was like a 3-day thing?
Oh, yeah,
he did?
yeah.
Wow.
There was some guy, he said, came up to him on the street, tried to stab him
I'm
when they were
sure.
going back to the hotel.
I'm sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Here's the, what is this, Polymarket election odds?
This is the betting market right now. They got Trump at 64.3%, Kamala at 35.8%. So pretty much doubled up right now.
Do you think about this, though?
Yeah.
When it comes to the polls, Polymarket's a little different, but when it comes to the polls, Republicans are always at a disadvantage. They're always going to suppress to make it seem like, hey, the Democrats got it in the bag. They can't do that, so they're trying to pretend it's a dead even heat, which means Trump is up here and Kamala's down here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to get
the
overly
numbers with
confident,
Hillary
but-
were off the chart. I mean, if you went back and looked in 2015, what they were saying, insane. The amount of she was up 20 points at some point, day before the election. So
You mean to tell me America doesn't want a pedo as a vice president?
it's amazing.
You know?
I don't know.
I mean, Pizzagate seems so far gone.
Jeez.
I'm sure Americans have forgotten by now.
Well, it threw them all for a loop because it was supposed to be Hillary versus Jeb Bush.
That's
that was
right.
the ultimate plan.
That's
and
what
here comes Trump with a 1% on day one. They gave him 1%.
And how about this? Jeb was in on that too.
Jeb.
Low energy. Oh, what it was it. His campaign was over. One word, low energy.
Yeah.
It's like he hit him with that. It's over.
Remember when Trump
Little Marco, love you, little Marco, appreciate it. Hey, I cast your check, Marco. Thank you.
sent him the waters after he did the
What an
little
idiot.
water deal? Remember when he bought Jeb Bush's website that expired? And you type in jebbush.com and it went to Trump's website.
so
Best troll ever.
So smart.
He's so good. I mean, how about the McDonald's deal? Going to McDonald's.
Brilliant.
I
And they're
mean-
that was all staged. Oh yeah, okay. What?
What do you think? We thought he actually worked at
What
McDonald's?
is wrong with you? It was staged. No, it's real. He works there.
But the fact that he goes and does that after Kamala is found out to have lied about working at McDonald's.
Oh, and the great part, what was that? Jesus is Lord.
No,
You got the wrong
my
rally.
gosh,
You got the wrong
yes.
rally. You did. Ooh, man, that was so good. That was so good. I couldn't have wrote it up for her better than that.
God, what a...
Way to do it.
I knew, and I've
She's
said this.
she's a complete dingbat.
I've said it multiple times. I'm like, the closer they got to the convention, I'm like, they're out of time to swap candidates. There's just no way for them to do it. There's no way for them to do an open primary. So the only option would be to go with Kamala Harris and just have her step up.
They're too late
I
now.
said that
Yeah.
you can't. I'm thinking
too
Democrats
late.
aren't going to be
They're
that
done.
stupid.
I'll be honest. I think they're already folding and they're looking for the midterm.
Yeah.
I think all their money and energy is going to midterm now. I think they already know the
do you
writing's
think?
on the
What do
wall.
you think about down ballot though for this election?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, I got to say, with the election, I think Trump's going to win, but he's going to have to play ball with some heavy hitters we don't hear about if they're going to let him get certified. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, because who certifies the election every 4 years?
Yeah.
The vice president, which happens to be your opponent that you're running against. So we are going to, if Trump is able to do this and get installed on January 20th or get confirmed on January 6th, we are going to have to see the image of Kamala Harris with the gavel saying, I accept these delegates.
No
and
doubt.
Let's
No
go.
doubt. Yeah.
Is she going to do that?
Oh, of course. She'll have
Well,
no
she'll
choice.
just do what she's
She'll
told.
have no choice. You understand what I'm telling you?
Well, the powers that be allow her to do it 'cause she's just doing what she's told.
I think that, the big reset, have you heard that term? Has anybody mentioned that?
Oh, we've all
Great
heard
reset.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody's throwing around this term. And what does that exactly look like? Well, to me, it looks pretty simple that if anything, you can say Trump is polarizing, right? Mm-hmm. We could all agree on that. Lefties, everybody. And what it's been is like a big reveal. It's like, I didn't know Cheney was a piece of crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We were all
Now,
on teams before
I'll
Trump
be
got
honest.
there.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm a horrible Republican. I've never been a Republican. Okay, I had to like when I voted for Mitt Romney against Obama. I had to swallow hard. It hurt. I hated that guy.
Me too.
Hated that guy.
I wrote in my friend Homeless Mike on that
Can't
ballot.
stand him. I couldn't stand him then. I wasn't a Bush guy. I didn't care for Bush. I didn't care for Reagan.
Watch out.
Uh-oh.
Watch out.
Bird's going to have a stroke over there.
Better watch out.
I just didn't. You know what I mean?
This is the
Now,
biggest Reagan guy.
I'm
you're
in
gonna
my
find.
20s during Reagan. Right?
Too.
I'm working for a living and going to college, and I made $9,000 a year, and I lost my Pell Grant, so I couldn't continue my college because I was making too much money. But yet, as a country, which you could at least agree with one thing, that the 80s were full of self-absorbed, Porsche-driving, rich getting richer selfishness that was off the charts.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's why,
that
especially
happen
people
in
like
the 80s?
John, he was riding around.
No, I wasn't. I was living on.
You know what I'm saying?
I was living in
That's
people's
loud.
houses trying to make it in music with long-haired earrings, and all my friends hated me because they were liberal.
Were you a little
we
bit
knew
of a
a lot
hippie?
of people then. We knew a lot of people that we probably know together.
Were you a
'cause I
hippie
was the
type
same
back
way.
then?
I think they called us more of a deadbeat, I guess. I don't know.
Deadbeat?
I don't know if that was it. What did they call the people that hung around the Nick all the time?
Oh man, that's what I used to do.
Nickites.
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 Be careful. Be careful.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like getting canceled. John Bird's about to get his
Still
canceled.
angry
Leave that,
Shakespeare.
People that go to the Nick. Let's leave it at
Let's
that.
just say that. No, but I knew a lot of musicians, right?
Yeah.
Tim Boykin, for instance. You know Tim Boykin? Carnival Season. You remember those guys? And the Primatons. You remember those guys? Mott's and etc.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think that I don't know where I was going with that, but wherever it was, we're there.
I'm just curious how you feel once you realize Romney, McCain, Bush, Obama, they're all in the same club.
They
Once you
are.
realize that, doesn't it make you sick to your stomach?
It did.
You know?
It did then. It's like I know that people love to think Reagan was all that, which is fine. He was conservative. He had some really good policies that helped a lot of middle class.
And they tried to kill him and shoot him on the streets.
He also, yeah, they did. They got a good shot.
That's
in
the
too.
indicator right there if they try to kill you.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Now,
I was-
don't you think it's funny how this McDonald's stunt got more press than the assassination attempt where he actually got shot in the ear? You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
I
tells
just
a lot.
always had the feeling that Ronald Reagan was an actor and that he was reading a script. And I didn't think it was really him. I think he was just playing a role. And
I was.
and then when his wife was all into astrology and they're trying to make decisions with crystals and shit, I'm like, I'm out. You know, you guys are nuts. And of course,
John Bird's twitching. You gotta
and honestly, the Iran-Contra thing was a real thing. I know a lot of people kind of gloss over, it's a little misunderstanding. No, we armed a lot of people and were responsible for quite a bit of death there.
Yeah, I wish we'd have brought down the wall. Russia.
It's like
Wish
right
we'd have won
there.
that war
If
against
we'd have
them.
just won that.
was back in the 2000s. Now, I was born in 85. So back 98, 99, 2000, I was in early high school. And I started kind of getting more into politics and talking about it with my friend. And I was rah-rah George Bush. I was rah-rah Republican. And I was on that train until Obama came along and they put up John McCain. And then I'm like, something ain't right with this party. And so I quit identifying as a Republican. I'm just a conservative. You had the Tea Party come up. That's when a lot of people started feeling the same way. But you're right. When Donald Trump came on the scene, it's like he just ripped the blinders off for so many people. And you're like, wait a minute. There's no Democrat versus Republican.
And that's when I knew when the Republicans hated him just as much as the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the way it started. It's like, oh, no, this is the dude. Because I knew they were all crooked, man. It's just like the spirit of Jezebel's hanging all over Kamala. You can just see it. Can y'all see it?
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's just like dripping off that
you know
woman.
the Hindu
she's
goddess
like a-
deal named Kamala? Have you heard about all that?
Yeah, I looked that up when you mentioned that.
Can we look that up? But Kamala Hindu goddess. Apparently, there's some evil.
She's the goddess of salad. It's amazing.
Yeah, the goddess of word salad.
Yes.
House salad with Zaxby sauce.
She's good at it.
Sexy salad.
Kamala Mika. is the name of the goddess. It says she has beautiful golden complexion. Oh, she is being bathed by 4 large elephants who pour jars of nectar over her.
That's the rhinos.
In her 4 hands,
like a
she
titty
holds
party.
2 lotuses and makes the sign of granting boons and giving assurance. She wears a, what does that say? Resplendent crown and a silken dress. That sounds like Kamala.
Those are the spelling bee for
golden
you.
complexion.
That's her.
Except in her
Oh,
4
she's a black
hands, she's holding Willie Brown and Montel Williams wieners.
I knew it.
No, I think she was listening to Prince. That's what she says.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. And she's Indian. She continues to claim she's black. She's not black.
I'll tell you that cringe-worthy interview that they had her and Walt sit down like they're having coffee. Did you? Anybody watch it?
Oh yeah, we all did.
Oh
That was
boy,
bad.
that was classically wonderful. I mean, I sat there and laughed the whole time. It's like I put on. You ever heard of Silver Sun Pickups?
Yeah.
Okay, that's your soundtrack to that. If you put that on, just put it on melatonin and let it play.
That's good stuff.
That's the tip.
Well, you know, something that I find very interesting is I believe if you take, they have Bollywood, the Indian version of Hollywood, where they do all these movies, and at the end they always do a dance. I'll bet if you were to play the end of one of those movies, she would start dancing.
I think you're right.
You think about it.
I think so.
She's just got, man. She's evil.
Weirdo.
I mean, she's the most. We've dealt with some communists in the White House, Barack Obama in particular. Nothing like this. It's all because she's so controlled. Yeah, she has her own left wing ideology, but she would be more of a puppet than anybody we've ever seen.
Well, just think for a minute if the truth were to come out about I don't know, let's just bring up the Russiagate situation. Well, what if there were big players in the Democratic Party that paid, like, I don't know, like a Fusion GPS or somebody to do some sort of, I don't know, bullcrap paper on somebody, and what if you could actually tie in all this corruption to the top names in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party for that matter?
Now, I actually thought something.
Liz Cheney.
When they accused the Republican or Donald of playing with Russiagate, as soon as they made that accusation, I went right back to my heart and said, what are they doing with the Russians?
Yeah.
Maybe they're up to something and they're going to blame him
They
first.
obviously were. It was the Clintons that gave him
the uranium.
Right. Deal that, like, the media wouldn't even cover it. Like, we talked about it on the guys like a lot, but like your basic media didn't even pay attention.
No, they did not.
It's like, that we just gave all the world's uranium to the crazy ass Putin dude.
Yeah.
Y'all know that? Does everybody understand what they do with the uranium? Anybody?
Make
Questions?
nuclear weapons, baby. Blow up the world.
Yeah, and
just
I
gave
got
it
to
to
say,
him.
you mentioned the Iran-Contra thing. If that happened today, we wouldn't even hear
my
about it. It'd be
God.
small potatoes compared
Small
to
potatoes.
When they left Afghanistan. That's like the worst I've
That's
ever
what
seen.
I'm saying is, like, that was the opening of the door of this kind of attitude about the executive branch can just make carte blanche a war. Like, when we were taught in high school, they took Congress. You couldn't declare war. Our country doesn't declare war because Bush gets pissed off at Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if we learned anything from Vietnam, we have to learn that lesson, right? The lesson that we had to learn was that we shouldn't let an executive branch go willy-nilly with our military around the world with police actions or whatever the heck.
I think a lot of people got tired of us nation building and said, we
That
got
whole
enough
thing
problems
was
here.
stupid. And unfortunately, maybe at the time, once again, I'm looking back as a 20-year-old something struggling to try to live and eat and go to school and all that. I probably had a very slanted view of reality, but I did see a country that spent tremendous amounts of money on defense, like off the top charts, ridiculous. That's where if you want to know where the military industrial complex came from, it came from 1980s when they were challenging these companies to build these incredible You know, because basically Reagan sold the Star Wars. Y'all remember the Star Wars? We were going to have lasers in space, and we're going to take your... We basically checkmated them with a bluff.
Yeah, but
honestly,
but the military industrial complex, we were even warned about that from Eisenhower. And way
for
before
sure.
That. But
for
they perfected the art of war and how to make money. They came up
in the 80s
with the scheme of the parallels.
That's exactly.
And then
right.
they keep fighting, and you can't cross the line or do certain things, and they make so much money.
So much money from war. There's no profit in peace, brother.
Thank God for Ukraine, right?
God, there's another one.
Talking about making some money.
You know.
So
there's the other one.
Before we, because we don't have to talk about Ukraine. We can in a minute, but I've got this going on in my head right now since we're talking about Kamala, the Hindu goddess Kamala. You saw the Man ad, right? That they put out.
Kamala's.
Yeah. That it was a cameo of a few different guys, and they're like, "I'm man enough to vote for a woman." Blah blah blah.
No,
check your email, Tony. I sent you two things, and just do it. We'll do the first one first. This is.
You sent it to me?
No. I sent it to him.
Okay.
So this came out. What do you think, John Bird? Like a week ago?
Yeah, maybe a little over
2 weeks ago. And so they put out this ad in order to pander to men because they're struggling with men. They're struggling with,
black men, yellow men, purple men, yellow men.
They're struggling with a lot of people. And if I don't know if that'll go big screen. If it won't, you can look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, it won't let me do it.
So they decide they're going to get a handful of men, and these definitely not actors. They're regular men, and they're going to do this little commercial. And we're going to play it on NFL games. It's going to reach far and wide, and we're finally going to get people to the polls that normally wouldn't vote for Kamala. Watch this.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor. I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as am not afraid of. Women.
I'm not afraid of women. I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it.
I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
Oh, my God.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story.
That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
So I do a little research and trying to figure out who these men are, and they're all.
Wait a minute, time out. Did you put that together?
That's not a parody. That is an actual Harris Walls ad.
Yeah.
That's not a real.
That is
deal.
100% real.
That's 100%.
And so they
Okay,
basically.
well, I thought it was Saturday Night Live or something.
No, they got a bunch of unemployed leftist actors out of Hollywood.
No, I mean,
and
that's ridiculous.
Brought them in like the big fat guys.
That's
like,
laughable.
I eat carburetors for lunch, and I'm like, no, you just
That's the
eat.
crazy.
Full-throated endorsement, raw dog, horse. Come on.
But listen, as crazy as that seems, and as much of a parody as that seems, I have actually found the right Kamala ad that accurately depicts the men that will be voting for Kamala Harris. So I want you to watch this.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a macho man.
I'm a macho man.
I like ribeye steaks.
I lift barbell weights. I can fit an entire can of Foster's in my mouth.
Anyways, you think I'm afraid to get my hands dirty?
You think I'm afraid of bears?
Alex Stein.
Bears.
I'll tell you another thing I'm sure as shit not afraid of. Women. All of my besties
are women.
I mean, everyone in my book club is a woman.
Last year, I did a wine tour in Tuscany with women.
I'm physically attracted exclusively to women.
Ew, gross. A woman wants to be president? Well, I'm man enough to give her my full-throated support.
You already had me at full-throated. I'm man enough to raw dog and
because I'm man enough to support women. I'm sick of so-called men dominating, controlling, and belittling women.
That's what I'm here for. Hound me like a chicken breast.
I'm man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
You know, I'm not actually sure anyone wants to do that.
Put on a scary clown mask and tell me I ain't
Because I love women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
Oh, wait for it.
Oh, that Tim. You should get tested.
Oh, God. Oh, man. Oh.
That's a real Kamala Man ad. The first one was actually real. That was the parody, but the parody was better.
For real?
You should have, yeah.
The first one was
The
not
first one was
parody.
100% real.
Yes.
The Harris campaign put that ad out.
Yeah, they spent money to advertise
To
that one.
pander
Yeah.
to people like you.
Wow.
Now, I noticed the second one had not only Alex Stein, but also that comedian guy that was on Steven Crowder. He was just recently a guest on Tim Pool, the guy that was dressed on all the black leather or whatever. That's
Yeah.
a funny guy. I can't remember his name, but he's good.
I love Alex Stein, by the way. Yeah. Please, Alex,
I don't
please
get
come
it.
on our show. Please.
I don't get it. I don't get that at all. So
Well-
the first one was legit.
he's not buying it. Like, it was 100%.
Y'all are really not messing with me.
No, it's for real. This ain't a Mike Lindell scandal.
Yeah, he
this
thinks
is real.
we're trying to Mike Lindell him.
You're not
No.
Lindelling me, are you?
No, this is 100%. That was 100% real. And we had a field day with it. And it just shows.
I'm tired of messing. I'm going to call Mike back.
Okay, call Mike Lindell.
Hello, this is Mike Lindell with the Lindell Offense Fund. You may have received a call about our telephone town hall. If you'd like to be removed from the list, please call 800-598-6747.
It really was Mike Lindell. How about that?
I gave money to Mike.
Did you really?
Yeah. I
That's
love
not bad,
Mike,
yeah.
and I do believe in what he's doing. So he's got a foundation that I give to, and so they have town meetings, and they'll just call you and say, "Hey, man, town meeting this weekend. You're welcome to join in." And it's like a Zoom with like 5,000 people.
Dang,
it's insane. But anyway,
I'm constantly looking for guest opportunities, and so I was at the home show at the BJCC. Me and Trish were like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and they had a MyPillow vendor, and so I go up and I start talking to this guy. I'm like, "Do you know Mike Lindell? Do you know how I can get in touch with him? I want him on my podcast. Could you get him on the phone, please?" Yeah. And he didn't. He says he knows him, but he's like, he's a busy guy.
He is a busy guy.
I was like, listen, Mark, you don't know Mike. Just be honest with me.
Come on. He could call for the show. He could call in for an hour.
That's all I want. I just want to talk
just
to him
a little
for a minute.
phone call is all you're asking.
So
I don't get it.
But you've had a lengthy radio career.
It was short-lived, but it was like way up there.
And then, well, after 101 shut down, you if I were you, I'd say after I got fired, Jim Moore, that's when the station went to shit and everybody else got fired.
That's right.
Because you were the glue that was holding it together.
It all went to crap after I left.
But that that morning show was so good. And then after...
And, you know, strangely, John, you being a program director, you understand that it was by far the #1 billing show.
Mm-hmm. The guys?
Yeah. I mean, we'd go in the meetings and, like, we're sitting there at 30-something grand a month or something, and closest one is not even half of that. And you're like...
Well, and you were...
That's the one you cancel.
You were the sales guy.
I was. I mean, I wasn't a sales guy,
show.
but I would go and sell my show when the salesman would go flub it.
And if you didn't,
they had the Crawford way, where it's like you either spend $2,000 a month, or you'll spend nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Really? I know that orange little
Taylor
notebook.
plan
The
or something.
Taylor
Oh, it's so stupid. It's like, what are you going to do with a young man like my man or him? Or, if you're a small businessman, you can't do $2,500 a month on radio unless you're selling something that's a high ticket.
If it wasn't for you selling your own show, I would have never met my wife.
That's for sure.
Because you and I had an office together.
Yeah.
and I'm freshly divorced, and you're talking to somebody at this Bobcat dealership.
Yeah.
And you're being all sweet and everything else, and I'm like, hey, Jimmy D BigTime, who's that?
Who was that?
He's like, oh, that's my girl Patricia.
That's
and
my
I'm
girl
like,
Patricia.
Okay, well, what's the deal with Patricia? I think she's got a boyfriend, but let's go hit her up anyway.
Exactly right.
She had just broken off.
She had.
I mean, she was
it was like the timing was perfect.
I know, it was meant to be. It was meant to be.
She's a sweet, and she was always so great to work with.
Yeah.
And good people, Loader Services. Check them out online at loaderservices.com.
Yeah, you get 100% credit on us meeting up now.
And Cuz. I'll take those.
And Cuz, I give you that one too.
I get Cuz.
And that was all because we had just a little 3-month stint together.
Just a little one.
But we had fun.
We'd have dominated if they'd have gave us an opportunity.
Yeah, I never had any opportunities.
Kill it.
I never had any advertisers. I had nothing.
We had so much rolling in since Trump did get in. We had plenty of stuff to talk about. The table was always loaded with issues.
Can we just take a step back and try to imagine, not for you because you know, but for me and Tony Gump, try to imagine John Bird as the boss of a radio station. That is such a bizarre foreign concept for me.
It was Mr. John Bird.
Mr. John Bird.
That's back when I was a tight ass.
Yeah,
Mr. Bird.
Mr. Bird.
Mr. Bird.
Yeah, and I tell you, I did a hell of a job.
Did you?
Yep. I negotiated the ABC News contract back when they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't you?
When they were
You did all
decent.
this imaging, right?
Yeah, I did all the imaging. Everybody got an original theme song.
Dang.
And
were you making decent money?
Yeah.
Really?
I was, but I was doing 3 different jobs.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Because at first I was production director / imaging director, because in my previous place I was imaging director. I did it for 6 stations.
Yeah.
But they were bought like 4 times in 4 years, and I was like, okay, the writing's on the wall here for this company. Things were going great with Crawford, and then my close friend decided that he wanted
no backstab Willie.
Yeah, he wanted my position, an additional position he had there.
Well, and
in his defense, he was on a lot of narcotics at the time.
Was he?
I mean,
not an excuse.
He wasn't making a lot.
I knew him back in North Carolina.
Of real decisions.
Well, can I say this? And this is how sometimes things go full circle. Is my very first station was WD&G out in Anniston, 1,000 watt AM radio station, but it was a talk station. I was there for 2 years before Leland finds me and brings me in, essentially tells them to bring me in after he leaves. I then do my time at 101 and everything else, and I then find out that, because I was doing the morning show at WD&G, I find out that my replacement, the person they replaced me with at that 1,000 watt radio station was, you know who?
No way.
DM, yeah. And I've never.
No way.
By the way, I don't know him. I've never met him, but yes, that's who they replaced.
And
me
the best radio show theme.
No way.
That's Fall from Grace, huh?
The best radio show theme I ever did by far was for him. He and his morning show partner.
You still got it?
Yeah.
We should
It's
listen
a
to it
good
one
show.
day.
I mean,
he was on Nancy Grace all the time, stuff like that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't stand Nancy Grace. Sorry.
And we can't stand him.
Yeah, I mean, I was out of radio from 2004 to 2020.
Thanks to that stuff.
Yeah, Matt Murphy said, hey, man, I want you on board this team. So he moved heaven and earth.
You can thank me for that.
I will. I'd like to.
Were you talking backstage with Matt Murphy about, hey, we got to get Bird in here?
Absolutely.
Got to get him up in the
Man,
cup.
Bird's a rock star, man. He can write jingles like nobody's business. He just creative. It's just ridiculous. You got to get him in here.
Well,
he's a producer.
When it comes to what happened to him with getting stabbed in the back by a guy he trusts, so that guy can then get Bird's position, that was kind of the norm for radio for a long time.
Sure.
I never experienced it. Maybe I'm just in a unique situation, or maybe radio has changed on that front. But I never ran into the people trying to get my spot.
Yeah.
And again, maybe I'm just lucky, but
who knows?
I mean, I'm more than happy to go toe to toe with anybody that wants to try to get my spot. But
yeah, and you know something else that that I wanted to mention. I don't care. I mean, it doesn't bother me. but I got you your first job in radio here. And you know who you are. Oh, I'm coming for you. No, I'm not. I'm just joking about that.
Are we still talking about the same person?
I didn't know who we're talking about.
Good. It's good. It's better that way, isn't it? You know who you are.
I gotta guess.
Who is it?
Well, I think it's Matt Murphy personally, but
No, Matt Murphy's my boy. He's my boy, Matt Murphy.
I love Matt Murphy because when he left was when Andrew came to 99.5.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Murphy dipping.
Rick Burgess?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I worked with Rick and Bubba for years doing imaging for him.
I thought so.
Yeah, and actually when I came into the morning show in 94, which is ridiculous, they said that the morning show I was on was their favorite morning show.
Really?
I'm like, what? Yeah, but they did it the right way. They ended up becoming separate from radio, so radio had to bow to them.
Of course.
They didn't have to bow to radio.
By the time they got to ZZK, case dismissed.
What's your thoughts on the disbanding of Rick and Bubba? A staple in Birmingham.
I knew it would happen. You know,
we all knew it would happen.
Sure.
I mean, obviously everybody's got a shelf life, but
they had the run.
But they're splitting up and then they're starting a new show.
Yeah.
The Rick Burgess show. So it's that show minus one person, which is the other half of Rick and Bubba.
I got to say,
It's kind of like bands, you know.
Yeah, from an outsider's perspective, I always hear all these radio stories about the old days and how the backstabbing and taking your job and all that. 99.5 right now, it's like everybody there roots for each other and they're like a family. And I expected some drama being with Andrew and supporting him where somebody was going to come along and try to take a spot or whatever. But no, that's exact opposite the case. Everybody seems to root for each other on their own shows, and there's no beefs whatsoever. If there's a little beef, it's, somebody locked me in the bathroom or something, just kind of like a fun thing.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing serious.
The people, the pool of people that are able to do this job, I think, has gotten smaller and smaller over the years. Like, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that's not already in the business to replace any given show. Just to generally do a radio show and do a good job at it.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you even find those people?
Yeah, I don't know.
That don't already have their own gig going on.
Yeah. It's going to be harder and harder, I would say.
You could have
But I told
fill in.
Val, I said, Val's a great lady. Known her a long time, too.
Yeah.
And I said, well, just letting her know that of my previous, no longer with this other company, so I'm kind of out here floating around doing my thing.
Putting no feelers out there.
Just letting her know what's up. And she was like, I said, well, we both know there's a glaring spot in y'all's programming that needs attention.
Which is?
Well, we just know it's a glaring spot.
10 to 11.
Tony! I'm just kidding. You left it out there. You're supposed to leave it floating.
Tony, you're just supposed to leave it.
Oh, my bad.
I mean, that particular spot's on in three markets too. We could.
Oh, I
spread it
know.
out.
That's what I'm saying.
What would you do a co-host deal with Dale Jackson?
Not really.
Would Dale do a co-host?
No, I mean, absolutely not. I mean, Dale wouldn't.
Do you have a
Dale would not,
I don't know. He came from a co-host situation.
He did. I mean, they were a co-host situation when they came here.
Jimmy D BigTime in the Attack Machine.
In the Attack Machine.
With producer Crawdaddy.
That's right.
What was your relationship like with Dale Jackson, or did you have one?
Didn't have one.
Yeah.
No.
Y'all didn't work there at the same time.
We did. I did mornings.
Never saw him.
Saturdays.
That's pretty much me and everybody else at the station.
I was just the Saturday goober.
I think at the very least,
it was just a marketing idea for my shop. I was like, I could do a show and I could get people to go to my shop, and like that worked well. And then I thought, well, I shouldn't have to pay $350 a week. Why don't I just sell some advertising? Hey, and the next thing you know, I'm making $1,000 a month on a show and advertising for free for 2 hours. So I thought, that's pretty smart advertising.
Yeah.
And then Leland comes on board, and like that show sucks so bad.
What?
that morning show.
The morning show. Oh.
I'm serious. That show was so bad. I couldn't listen to it. I tried to listen to it.
So it was Russell P. Jeff and
I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He's on 42 News now, like Dave
Nussbaum?
No.
That's our meteorologist, isn't it?
Yeah.
No.
No, he hadn't been here long.
Anyway, it was just, you can imagine
Dave.
him and Steve and Russell, it was just kind of.
Wait, it was Russell, Steve,
Russell P. and
who?
Steve West. And
oh, it was those three.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Sometimes you just don't have good chemistry.
Awkward. Yeah, it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't listen to it. He couldn't either. It's like, ugh.
If
and I just went in there and went at each one of them, individually.
You did. You ripped them to
challenged.
shreds.
Oh yeah, ripped them up.
Jim Moore walked in there on the first day, pulled it out, and
I just laid it
right
on the table.
New world order, baby.
Hey, go take it easy. You boys have a good day.
Let's talk about the Masons.
Come on. Illuminati. Huh?
So,
talk about some Illuminati.
Yeah, that was again a very underrated morning show. But
it was
fun.
It was so fun because me and Russell were so different, and we would read the same freaking things,
Yeah,
and like I took all that seriously, just like you do, and I was always an avid reader already, but suddenly I was led into the reading all the periodicals. It was like I had to read all these periodicals, and lucky it was a morning show, because the worst thing I think you can do as a show host is like regurgitate or bring that horse back out of the barn, beat him in the head again. I mean, I've already heard so-and-so talk about that topic all day, and now you're talking about the same thing.
With the same point of view.
With the same point of view, and I'm like, I try not to listen to anybody else, and when the morning show, you get that opportunity because you're the first one to talk about it.
Russell P. used to have great stories.
Oh, he did.
Remember pocket cheese?
They were disgusting, but...
There was one time that
pocket cheese with Mr. Crawford.
Don Crawford would come like once a year, and he would pretend like he likes you, and then he'd pretend like he knows you, and he would hug.
He knows you.
Hug everybody. And so we've got food in the conference room, and Russell P. He's a big guy, he's
big
mowing
boy.
it down. He's got him a big fistful of cheese. Right?
Always fruits and cheeses.
Yeah.
He would call ahead and have exactly what he
Russell
wanted.
P's got a fistful of cheese, and then Mr. Crawford walks in the door and reaches out for this hug, and he's like, he shoves the cheese in his pocket and then hugs Mr. Crawford, probably wipes a little cheese residue on it, and then forgets he's got cheese in his pocket and finds it later in the day.
Could it be government pocket cheese?
And eats it, yeah.
And eats it. That's the other part.
You'll never go hungry.
There was another one about you remember shaving the pony?
Oh, yeah. And he left his shower on all day.
Oh, yeah.
All day.
Like 48 hours.
Long.
Yeah, he left the shower on.
He left his shower on.
That dude's a mess.
He is
I wish he'd come on this podcast, but he won't.
You don't think so?
Nah, I think he doesn't want to hurt his brand by coming on this show.
Wow.
Like the DJC brand. But I'm like, what do we really do that would be detrimental?
What do they really do? Oh.
It's him and Jessica. I don't get to listen to them, so I don't know what their show's like, but I wish he would come on, honestly.
Isn't it like Christian rock or something?
I like Russell.
Christian
contemporary
music.
Christian.
Yeah. I do too, man, because with the stories, man, it would be so perfect for this podcast, but I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah. Maybe not. You get Jessica, though.
We already did.
Okay.
Well, I took her back to Congress because we had to clear it with her uppers and everything else. But apparently they're a lot more lenient there than they used to be.
What kind of uppers she taking?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I was surprised we were able to pull that off, but we did, and it was great. We had a great time. It was her first time hanging out with John Bird, which was an experience for me.
Oh, I bet that was.
But we've got to, I think at the very least, we've got to at least get you on the station on the weekends back to what you were doing. At bare minimum.
Dude, I got 2 sponsors already.
Because
they call me and they're like, hey, you going to do your show again? We'll sponsor it.
Do we have any open spots on the weekend? Like Saturday mornings? Because he's the producer for those shows.
I know a guy.
He knows somebody.
Because if we could put you in right before Jim Butters, you tee that bad boy up, and then Jim Butters can get on there and talk about his gangrene Willie.
With the gangrene. I'll show you a picture of it right there.
Did he actually show you a picture?
Oh, God.
He almost showed
I still can't get over it.
I mean, it's frightening.
He had some stories. You know, when Jim Butters came in here in the studio, was this a couple months ago? His shirt said, "Not wearing underwear." That's all it said. His shirt says, "Not wearing underwear."
Probably legit.
And I'm like, and so that's when the conversation came up, and he was like, "Well, you know, girls have to change their underwear every day." Like, what are you talking about?
Oh, everybody does.
Not Jim. He says that guys don't have to do it every day. Maybe every 3 days. Change
Boxers can wait 10 days, he said.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He says you can just let it marinate.
And he's married, right? He's married.
No,
I think so. No, he's not married.
No.
He went through his ex-wives and talked about them.
Oh, I thought he was married. Maybe he got divorced.
Yeah.
No, I think he met all his wives selling them water beds each time.
He had a waterbed deal.
Nice.
And I'm like,
But he's selling water beds. I could see him selling water beds.
did you get your wife by testing a waterbed? Like, how did that work?
I think he went to their houses and set it up for him, if you know what I mean.
Hey, come set up your waterbed. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, boy.
Fill it up.
Anyway, man, well, I'm glad we got the opportunity to get you in studio.
Yeah, I've been threatening to come do this, and I've been waiting on the right time to bring back the Jimmy D.
Sometimes it takes, because you called me last week, and you're like, hey, when you going to bring me on the show? And I was like, oh, why have I not reached out to you already and brought you on the show? Because sometimes I need people to reach out to me and say, hey, I want to come on the show for it to click in my head. But then there's also other people you don't want doing that.
You just got all big and shit and forgot your little friends. I get it.
You're Jimmy D.
No,
big time.
I'd called you. I was like, man, I'd been to Pennsylvania with my boy Steve, I think, is when I called you. Because I went up there for the races at the NHRA races.
Mm-hmm.
I told you about my boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, doing a little tour, letting you know.
You're like, hey, he could be on your show. I was like,
kind of laying
you?
around. You ought to get him on your podcast for real.
Yeah.
He'll come do it.
We can figure something out, I'm sure.
Oh, he's just fun to talk to, man. I mean, you don't have to talk about racing.
Yeah.
It's just somebody that's been racing for 30 years.
Did you know anything about gangrene?
He knows about the penal infections of what can happen. You know what I'm saying?
We can figure out something to talk about.
No, but yeah. So I'm hoping that I've been working on the elements, right? And so my production, it's post-production. I got 3 in the tank, right? It's 3 new podcasts coming out. So I'll be
releasing. Are they out already?
No, they're not. I've been putting them together. They're in post-production right now.
Okay.
Let's talk.
They're post-production right now.
So
and I need production help because I'm having some difficulties, John, that you could probably help me with.
Yeah, I'll be glad to.
I got a new laptop so I could do some good stuff, but I have an old PV mixer with a really good mic that I bought years ago.
He'll do your production. You do his fuel filter.
Oh yeah, I can do fuel filter.
Just swap it up, Willie. You don't have a podcast to promote yet. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's coming though.
But,
it's
like
coming.
If people want to find it when it does, where do they find it?
It'll be on everything. Spotify.
What are you calling it?
iTunes. It's going to be Shop Talk Unleashed.
Shop Talk Unleashed.
Yeah.
Are you going to refer to yourself as Jimmy D BigTime?
No, I'm just going to expose everybody to the facts of life. And I was right about freaking every freaking thing.
Hell yeah.
And so when we go back and we listen to in 2004 when I was introducing this lane departure system from Nissan. It was the first people to come out with a Nissan had a lane departure system. 2004, nobody's had it before. And I'm like, okay, they're going to have a light blinking on the dash. That's how they're going to do it. Oh, yeah. They're going to put a light in the mirror and it blinks. If somebody's saying you, hey, that's all nonsense. I said, look, people ignore lights all day, every day. I see it all day. Low pressure lights, low everything lights, check engine lights. They ain't paying a bit of attention to none of it. And I said, that's not going to do it. If you're going to get their attention, you need to electrify the seat and shock that ass.
Oh, yeah, that's
shock
right.
that ass.
Mine actually will pull me back into the lane.
What do they do now? I'm riding I was in a Cadillac. We rented a Cadillac in Pennsylvania. I'm going down the road and taking Steve to the racetrack. And lo and behold, I go in the other lane. There's a car over there and my ass goes, you see? Now that's exactly what I said they needed to do back in 2004. And some GM engineer was listening.
Yeah, there's no doubt. How about that?
Go. And there's so many of those. So, no, it's going to be kind of a mash of old and new because I'll go ahead and drop the big one right now. I'm going to go ahead and tell you as an actual fact that the manufacturing of automobiles in this country peaked 15 years ago. It's been downhill since.
Yep.
And everything they're making now is to screw you. And it's made not to fix, but to replace. And it's like they made cars disposable lighters. And I'll just bring one thing up, and that would be called a CVT. And you can look this up. It's a CVT. It's a type of transmission that's being used now across the board in most Nissans and Toyotas.
What about Hyundai?
Some Hyundais.
I was just told.
But CVTs were... they're designed not to ever require servicing, which that's code word for when it burns out, you're going to buy one.
Right.
And so when you can't service it, it burns out, and then you buy one. And on these types of trainees, we're talking $5,000 or $6,000. So 7 years down the road, you got a $20,000 car that is now worth $7,000, and you need a $5,000 trainee. That's the position they want you in, so they can sell you a new one.
Right.
Now, the 5.3, there's several examples that I'll bring up, and bringing it up and showing some of the good conversations we had back in the day, because I had some rednecks. I had some rednecks listen to my show on the regular, and man, some of the conversations we had, I'd forgotten. But John, back then, we used to burn things to CD, right?
Yeah.
So we'd do the show, and they'd burn it to a CD and hand it to me, right? So I get to clean out my shed a few months back, and I'm like, my God, I've got like cases of these show CDs, man. And I started putting some on there, and I got some, like, I would write some incredible scripts from some of my advertisers and for promos for my show.
Right.
And then I was bold enough to go, I was a nobody, right? John's a real deal. I'm a nobody.
Stop.
So I'd I'd go up to Lee Davis. I'd be like, hey, Lee, you mind voicing this for me? You mind voicing this for me?
Yeah.
And it would be something like, in the world history, there have been 3 events that have left an indelible mark on mankind, and it would end up saying it's a Shop Talk Network,
Yeah.
And it's Lee Davis saying it.
Nice.
Like, yeah, that would be my promo. Or Matt Murphy.
Well, once those come out, let us know, and we'll direct people that way, and we'll get you some clicks.
Yeah, we'll let you know, won't we, Jim?
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Oh yeah, both of you.
John's gonna produce it.
Yeah, y'all hook that up. Now, what we do when we end the podcast, we do something called Final Words.
Final Words.
And it's simply whatever you want to leave the audience with. Could be an inspirational quote. Could be about, what'd you call them, CTE trainees? Trainees with CTE.
CVT.
CVT.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say. Nothing's off limits. So think about that for a second.
Right.
And we'll go Tony Gump first.
Okay, we got an election coming up in 2 weeks. Everybody to make sure go out and vote Trump unless you're a felon or an illegal or whatever.
Or mentally retarded.
Or a minute, yeah, I won't say that.
Challenged.
Yeah, challenge.
Challenge.
And make sure to get plenty of water, meat, sunlight, and sleep. Stay active and just stay positive and try to laugh a little bit as we coast through this, because it's strap on your seatbelts. This is going to get hectic here real fast.
It's going to be wild, cuzzy. Jim Moore, what are your final words?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
It's
anyway,
an honor.
It's always a good time. This is the greatest time to be alive. There's been no other time in the history of man that has been more exciting and more going on. All I can say is that, keep your head on the swivel. Realize that what is good can be masquerading as bad, and vice versa. Just understand that there's a drastic difference, and you just need to make your stand now, because time's running out. You're going to have to stand for something. It's time to stand up. And what I mean by that, you got to take control. I think when it comes to, school boards, we have to get good people running for office again, or we're gone.
Mm-hmm.
We got to have good people running for office again. We got to have restraints on those that are in office. We need reform of how, they don't need to go up there and serve 27 years and come out with billions of dollars. That everybody's compromised.
Yep.
The big reset's coming. Buckle in. It's going to be a shaky ride. You might want to learn how to shoot some meat.
There you go. Shoot that meat, baby.
If you want to eat.
If you want to eat, shoot the meat.
If you want to eat red meat, you're probably going to need to shoot it.
That's true. Yeah, so strap up, get you a lot of ammo, and be ready.
It's too late to get your ammo.
Fine.
If you haven't got that, it's too late.
It's a little pricey now. John Burt, your final words.
I have a few things I'd like to say. First of all, I would like to piggyback off of what Jim said, which is, as you get older, your prostate does give you problems. I've had to pee for about 45 minutes, but I am not going to get up and excuse myself. You know why? Because I love Jim.
He's your man. Because he's
my man.
He's a man.
You know what? I owe him a lot of money right now. You know why I owe him a lot of money? Because he helped me work through some emotional issues on this podcast.
Today.
Wow.
This day.
Amen.
Remember, if you love somebody, hold your pee. Make sure that you find an unqualified or someone who hasn't got a degree to help you solve your problems. Someone who has lived in the real world.
For sure.
And to everybody who hasn't noticed my new glasses, kiss my ass.
There we go, baby. Round of applause for that one. Oh, that's good. That's good stuff.
I love those glasses, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everybody else. And until next time, circus!